Organ in the morning.
BBC Radio Stoke.
23 minutes to 8. Do you fancy paying a visit to the armpit of Cheshire? No, I didn't think. Basically, that is what some people are calling Crewe, because it's got a massive problem with fly tipping. So much so, Cheshire East Council have announced they're going to employ 2 full-time wardens to identify, remove and enforce in order to keep the town's streets clean. Our Cheshire reporter, Lamin Howie, has been out with a clean-up volunteer just to understand the scale of the problem.
Right, let's get to the action. Gary Palin, your Facebook site, Crewe fly tipping and Grot spots. Why did you set it up?
I was sick of coming out of my own home and seeing that everyone else's white goods, mattresses, divan beds and general household rubbish dumped all over the alley. It cleared up, a week later, same thing.
It just keeps coming back.
Yep, it's not just here, it's all over Crewe.
You've now got 250 members and growing. You're not the only group in Crewe that's doing their best to try and address the problem, but the best way to see it is to get in the car. Fly tipping used to be commercial goods. It's now the phrase that we're using for people dumping in the alleys. It's dumping stuff on other people's property.
Well, yeah, they're dumping it to the point where they can't even get out of the property. There was over 30 bags dumped last week, which blocked the whole alleyway off, and 2 blokes couldn't get the car out to go work in the morning.
4 out of every 5 complaints about fly tipping and dumping of rubbish to Cheshire East Council come from Crewe. But fly tipping isn't a new trend in Crewe. Rachel Bailey's now the leader of Cheshire East Council.
When I was responsible for communities and regulated services, something similar occurred. Believe you me, I was appalled to see the leather sweets thrown in the back alleys when I hadn't got one. And actually, the lack of understanding as to the cost it means to the local authority and services.
Fly tipping was always an issue, but Councillor Brian Roberts noticed a distinct rise in offences a couple of years ago.
But then it's sort of become more of a habit to some people. And we weren't seeing any enforcement. Initially, I think we were all putting it down to education, people not knowing what to do with the rubbish. But it became pretty evident that most of the problems were within a group of streets where people were on lower incomes. There was a lot of transigent community people living in that area, a lot of moving around. It's affecting the neighbourhood, it's bringing things down.
ANSA, the company that deals with fly tipping responses on behalf of Cheshire East Council, has received 1,000 reported incidents in the past 6 months. That's around 1 call every working hour. So the new Communities Health and Enforcement Officer, Paul Bates, is spearheading a response. £75,000 has been identified to nail the issue.
I've had an outline discussion about getting notices printed in other languages other than English, because obviously that's not people's first language. So therefore, it is up to us as an authority to make sure our communication is in place to encourage people to take the right process.
£75,000 goes to doing what?
To cleaning up fly tipping.
But specifically, does that mean 2 uniformed people are going to go out there? That's their wages are paid for out of this. Is that exactly what's going to happen?
Exactly what's going to happen, and they are going to be proactively removing fly tipping waste.
Cheshire East Council have admitted that there is a problem in Crewe, and yeah, this £75,000 will hopefully make Crewe an area that's not known for being a grot spot. Some people have called it the armpit of Cheshire, so hopefully this £75,000 will stop that.
On Monday morning, I had to go out and the sun was shining, the streets were clean. You got this feeling of well-being. We need to build on that feeling. Well-being is also accompanied by pride, and if you haven't got well-being, your pride goes out the window.
Now, the authority has said they're going to be printing leaflets to encourage residents to stop dumping rubbish. They're going to employ 2 people to solely remove fly tipping waste. And coming up after 8, I'm going to be talking to the man who's so fed up with the fly tipping problem in Crewe, he's set up a petition for help and action. 19 minutes to 8 to 9. We're back in Crewe now. We've been talking about this quite a bit this morning, about how Crewe has got a huge fly tipping problem. ANSA, which is a company employed by Cheshire East Council to respond and remove fly tipped rubbish, received over 1,000 calls in the past 6 months. That is effectively a call every working hour. As you heard earlier, the council has given £75,000 to employ a couple of wardens to spot who's doing it and to stop them. Mike Crislow is an historian who moved to the town in the 1980s. I spoke to him earlier and he explained to me just how bad the situation is in the town.
The fly tipping in Crewe is certainly much worse than it's ever been before. There is a widespread feeling that it's almost at epidemic proportions. It's certainly not across the whole of the town and the whole of the borough, but there are undoubted grot spots and bad areas where the problem seems to keep repeating itself.
So, I mean, you mentioned the word epidemic there. How do we change that, though? How do we change people's thinking?
Well, there's some sterling work being done by Councillor Roberts, for example, who's leading a task force across Crewe Town Council and Cheshire East to tackle this, and some very strong support from a number of people in the community. But this appears to have got significantly worse over the last couple of years.
Why do you think that is, Mike?
Well, I suspect the root causes are many and varied, and education, information is part of the solution. There's a perception in some people's minds that this is a cultural thing, although I don't think there's any real evidence to suggest that.
Yeah, this £75,000 that Cheshire East has put up, and they're going to employ a couple of wardens. Where do you see that within the answer? Is it not enough? Is it a small step? Is it the wrong direction? How do you see it?
I think it's a small step, and that's not to belittle it at all. £75,000 is very welcome.
Of course,
having two wardens is very welcome, but I think it's only part of a wider range of potential solutions. What we seem to see is people report the problem, answer, come and clean it up, and then very shortly afterwards the problem comes back. If the wardens are able to break that report, clean up, repeat cycle, then that will be a great thing. But it is a step in the right direction, there's no doubt about that.
And I guess as well, with something like this, as a good a move as the wardens may be, what they're looking at in some ways is the wrong end of the equation. Surely we need to be looking at the root problems for the fly tipping in the first place.
Absolutely. I'm a firm believer that unless we address the root causes, this will simply repeat itself endlessly, and at best it might move the problem from one street or one part of the town to somewhere else.
Well, because the argument could be that doing that, I mean, you said yourself, the reasons for, the root causes are many and varied. The reasons for not tackling that is it is incredibly complex, difficult, costly, probably. So getting a couple of wardens to deal with the results of it's the best that can be done at the moment.
I think that's right, and I think they'll be busy people. No doubt, they will have gainful employment for as long as they're carrying this out. But whether they will actually be able to make a significant difference and change the underlying behaviours that are causing this problem remains to be seen.
So there we go. As I say, we've been talking quite a bit about fly tipping, and that was Mike Crislow speaking to me a little bit earlier. Auntie Margaret's got